evening. Welcome to the Fantasy Wildcard Dynasty show. I am your host, Kev. You can follow me on Twitter at Dynasty_GOAT. Please do. With me tonight, as always, handsome chap, amazing co-host, Ali, who you can follow on Twitter at FF Dynasty Grill. Good evening, Ali. How are you?
Please do add me too.
Hey.
I'm good. Yeah, I'm not bad. Battling a bit of a sore throat. I think we've all got a bit of a sore throat, haven't we, Kev? Perhaps it was from shouting at the TV with the Munich game this week. What an absolute spectacle that was. I think not just because I was a fan of the team involved, but I think there's a lot of fans of all different teams. I think if you're a neutral, the game was okay. Obviously, the right team won, and yeah, I just think what a spectacle for the international scene. Yeah, it's fantastic. Even Tom Brady said it was amazing. He probably wouldn't have said that if he'd lost the game though. But yeah, it was good. I'm not too bad. Fantasy was okay this week. Not as good as you, Kev, but obviously you're the GOAT, so that's probably always the case. But yeah, how are you doing?
Yeah, fantasy went really well for me this weekend. Pretty much everything I wanted to happen did. But yeah, just last night, obviously, I'm not going to mention it too much, but I woke up this morning and saw the Eagles had been beaten, which is probably a good thing because we're never going to go 17-0 or whatever it is. But yeah, it kind of ties in a little bit with our co-host Matt, who's unfortunately not here tonight. Thinking of sort of the best teams like the Fantasy Wildcard Dynasty show, they're often battered and bruised, but we're still unbeaten. It's me and you. Matt's taking a bit of time away, but we're still powering through. We're going to smash it like tonight, like we did last week. And we have got an amazing show this week, haven't we? We've got some under the radar sort of players, I think, when you think of the big names in Dynasty. So it'll be really interesting to dive in and give you our thoughts on some of the standout guys. In week 10, we're going to discuss a couple of trades to establish their Dynasty values as well. So really exciting show this week, recapping week 10. And there's only one place we can start, really. The main man that stood out to us this week, I think we're both in agreement this was eye-popping. Who would you like to discuss, Ali?
I would like to discuss the future tight end one in Dynasty. It's obviously Cole KMET, who, just where has Cole KMET been all season? I was heavily on him in the off-season with the thoughts that Justin Fields hasn't got many weapons in Chicago, but he has got Cole KMET, who's shown flashes in his career. But then he disappeared, rather much like Allen Robinson did last season, another one that I was high on. I need to stop getting high on these players, Kev. But yeah, Cole KMET has come back with an absolute bang. And looking at Dynasty-wise, I actually forgot how young Cole KMET is. Kev, do you know how old Cole KMET is?
What is it, like year 3? So I'm going to say 23.
He is 23 years old. So
but he's 24 soon. He's got to be.
I'm not sure, actually, but I know he's 23 years old. And for a tight end, we know it can take a few years for tight ends to get going. I'm not exactly going to come on here and say Cole KMET's the next Travis Kelce, but it was nice to see him finally arrive and be relevant for fantasy. And despite averaging 92.2% snap percentage all season, he's been on the field the whole time. He's averaged just 2.5 targets per week from week 1 to 8, which is pretty pathetic. Just the one touchdown and the best game of 4 receptions for 45 yards. So pretty woeful. He's been sitting on my bench for most of the season, or I've traded him away for peanuts. So that looks great right now. But yeah, back with a boom in week 9 and 10. He's been the tight end one in both weeks, which is pretty unbelievable. He was the tight end 31 between weeks 1 and 8. He's now up to the tight end 12 in PPR league, so it's quite a rise. His arrow is certainly pointing up with what the Chicago Bears offense is doing right now. It's pretty unbelievable how it's just reinvented itself. Justin Fields is on an absolute tear, and he's been the main red zone target for Justin Fields over the last 3 games. secured 5 touchdowns in them 3 games, which is crazy. It's up there with Travis Kelce. You think he'd be on that sort of pace. 13 targets as well in the last 2 games, so much better than the 2.5 targets he's been seeing before that. And the Bears are now averaging 31 points per game over the last 4 weeks. So with Justin Fields playing at that sort of MVP level right now, especially with there's still not that much help around him, it's looking pretty good for Cole Kmet. The fact that they're scoring points, there's going to be scoring opportunities for Kmet going forward. And then it just gets more exciting, say, for next season, thinking dynasty-wise. This Chicago Bears offense could look much better than it does right now. So there's going to be even more scoring opportunities going forward. So I had a quick look at keep trade cut. Is up to tight end 12, which is quite a rise from where he was a few weeks ago. He's now ahead of the likes of Darren Waller and Zach Ertz, wow. both now on IR. But I've still got those 2 comfortably ahead of Cole Kmet. But I think there's an interesting sort of sell window right now if you're not competing for the championship right now. If you can get a nice return for Cole Kmet, perhaps if there's a Bears fan or someone that's getting pretty excited about Cole Kmet, I think there's an interesting opportunity to sell him for the right price. But then also on the flip side, if you're maybe a contender, you can perhaps still buy him fairly low. The tight end landscape's not looking great right now. There's not too many people getting excited about Cole Kmet. A reason why I want to bring him up on the show tonight, just because it's someone that's still going a little bit under the radar, but is really helping for fantasy. And then if you do hold like Justin Fields to have that stack, it's been flying the last few weeks. So possibly it continues into the playoffs and helps you win a championship. Kev, I'm interested to know your thoughts on Cole Kmet.
I mean, first of all, when you were talking the Blink-182 song, what's my age again? Because there's a line there, nobody likes you when you're 23. And it seemed that way with Cole Kmet, that he has dropped in his value sort of through the offseason coming into this season, especially with the Bears' struggles. But like you said, last 2 weeks, he's been absolutely on fire. You mentioned stacks. I've been dabbling in a bit of DFS, and that Fields Kmet stack, it's been really fruitful the last 2 weeks. So I've never really been fully in on Kmet. I've always sort of played him down to yours and Matt's standards. So I've been the lowest. So can we call it a miss? I'm not going to say that publicly, but I have been the lowest out of us 3 so far. But I do think he's interesting because he's an athletic tight end. I think he's sort of 70th percentile athlete based on the metrics at playerprofile.com. And then you think about Justin Fields, that sort of mobile Konami QB. What these type of QBs really sort of stand out with, thinking about guys like Jalen Hurts, Lamar Jackson. Tight end is a big part of that with Jackson and Andrews and Hurts and Goddard as well. Now, I'm not saying Cole Kmet is Mark Andrews by no imagination. Absolutely not. But I think for the style of QB, tight end is a sort of the easier throws over the middle, I guess, the red zone targets as well. So if they don't have a lot of wide receiver and Fields is going to continue to grow as a passer, I think it's very interesting. So it's definitely got me thinking, like, would I buy him on a contending team? Probably not, because I want to go really high up to the top. But I do think maybe like a middling team can maybe take a punt on him and hope that his value continues to grow. Or even on a rebuilding side, you could maybe grab him and look to pivot off him nearer the time of challenging. So yeah, he's definitely interesting. I would like to see more of it, because the last 2 weeks, or was it the Dolphins and the Lions, both terrible versus tight end. So if you could do it for a little bit more, I'd be definitely interested. But a few trades to find out his value in Dynasty. So we've got Cole Kmet in a 23 mid-second, or TJ Hawkinson.
I love how we're throwing out whereabouts in the round it's going to be. I think, as you mentioned, I think it makes sense, because you can start to work out where teams are at right now, whether they're competing, whether they're middle of the pack or they're going to be at the bottom. So that 23 mid-second is really interesting, because we've spoke about all off season how we were interested in the first round picks, and we're still really interested in the second round picks for these guys that are going to drop out. And a mid second round pick was pretty juicy this season. So the fact that the 23 class is looking pretty special, that's going to be that's going to be a pretty decent guy that you got a pretty good shot on. But I'm going to take TJ Hawkinson. I like the move to Minnesota. I think it's an upgrade in the offense. I think he's already been integrated in that offense really well. He's seen a ton of targets. You got to think Adam Thielen, we keep mentioning, he's getting on a bit now. Justin Jefferson is incredible, but TJ Hawkinson, I think, is going to be a big part of the offense going forward. So I'll just take Hawkinson because I know it's more of a sure thing.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I think with tight end, I want to have guys that are top 5, top 6, or have that potential. Don't quite see it with KMET yet, so I'll go with Hawkinson as well. Trade 2, we've got Cole KMET or Isaiah Likely.
That's an interesting one because Likely has burst on the scene, especially when Andrews has not been there and done fantastic. But I think the fact that Andrews is there and is going to be there for a long, long time, I think I'll take the upside of KMET. If this isn't just out of the blue and he's going to go back to seeing hardly any targets, then I might lose this trade. But I'll just take KMET because of he's still a very young tight end. There is that chemistry with Justin Fields, and if he's that main tight end next season, I'll take KMET just because of that upside. Sorry.
Yeah, I think with Likely him being the second tight end, how many second tight ends do you see that are this high in Dynasty rankings? I think he's in a false position. I think he's done great with the opportunity, but looking at that offense, Bateman's still a question mark for me. They've got to be looking at adding Peace at wide receiver because that's a little bit of an area that's potentially stopping them from challenging for a Super Bowl in the AFC. Sorry, Tom. And then the third trade is Cole KMET or a 23 late second.
Yeah, I'll take the pick this time. I'll take the late second. There's not many tight ends I will pay the second round pick for. Cole KMET probably not being one of them in that group. So I'll take the late 23 second and take a wide receiver or a running back in that area and just go for someone that's probably going to be worth more than a Cole KMET unless he continues his tear and becomes a top 6 or 7 tight end. But I think it's fairly unlikely. So I'll go for the pick.
Yep, sound judgment. I'm with you on that. And we're now going to move on to the first guy that stood out for me. I'm sure it stood out to you as well, Ali. You might be able to spot the link or understand why. But this guy's got, first of all, an amazing surname. We're talking about RACHAAD White of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now, on the week, running back 25. On the season, running back 46. It's nothing that's sort of eye-popping that really stands out. But, it's a really, really, really confusing situation, I think, because last week he had 11 touches and Leonard Fournette was giving it the big one, the squeaky wheel, talking about I want to be involved more. But actually, Fournette, outside of his touchdown in Germany, it was 14-57 on the ground. He threw that hilarious interception. He got injured, so it was a terrible day for him in the end. But RACHAAD White, he took his opportunity, really. 22 rushes, 105 yards. He gave one of the most violent stiff arms I've ever seen. It was like he was throwing the javelin, like just throwing his arm over it. It was just, it was Derrick Henry-like, actually, on a lower scale. But also, PFF credited White with the most missed tackles forced in week 10. That was on the ground. Previously, though, in the past game, he's been used. He's had 20 catches on the season in the 9 games. He's been top 20 in running back receptions and yards per out ran. So we know that he's got that side of his game sorted. The rushing side was really solid as well. So it's giving you that 3 down skill set potentially. Another positives is a day 2 running back in real life. He was going at the end of first, early second in your rookie draft. So a guy that's got a lot of talent. People have been high on him. And now he's got the opportunity. There's the bye. There's the Fournette injury. The early news came out that Fournette was going to be ready, but it just seems like a bit of a panic. Maybe the Fournette camp have decided to try and get that news out there, really. So it's putting pressure on the Bucs to stick with him. But could this be a little bit of feeling of what Fournette did to Ronald Jones in the past, where Ronald Jones was flying? He got that injury, and Fournette took the backfield and never gave it back to him. Obviously, Ronald Jones isn't very good at NFL at running back, is he? Fournette's a lot better, but it's just something to bear in mind. The consensus of the community has risen. Rachaad White's now running back 21, which wasn't that a week ago. He's on that rookie year deal, year one. So, yeah, anytime you get a young rookie running back that's sort of rising in value, it's wheels up. So where am I at on Rachaad White? I think the fact that Lenny's running back 9 on the year, it's not a bad season. He's not the reason the Bucs are 5-5. And as the Bucs fan, you'll be able to shine a bit of light on this. But when it comes to crunch time later on in the season, who are you going to be playing from a real life point of view? Is it going to be Fournette in the backfield or Rachaad White? I think I know the answer, but I'd love to hear more thoughts on that from you. But I do think longer term, it's really promising for him, and he's someone that I'd be happy to roster and potentially look to acquire. Maybe it's the wrong time is now, but we'll have to see. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's quite exciting for as a Buccaneers fan, but as an owner of Rachaad White as well. Just because he did look like the complete back on Sunday. He's got more opportunities, obviously, than he's ever had. And he looked really good for it as well. He looked like someone that didn't look out of place as a top 15 runner back in the NFL. He looked explosive. He kept juking the defenders. He was running through them, get off me, sort of angry runs. Yeah, and with that, the day 2 draft capital, it all goes in his favour. Leonard Fournette, I tend to think they'll play it cautiously on Leonard Fournette. They want him for the playoff run. I think the division is in our hands, so they're going to play the long game on Fournette. They want him when it comes to crunch time. We know how good he was in the playoffs last year. And then the offensive line is coming together now. Brady didn't get touched at the weekend against a pretty good Seattle rushing, and it's starting to look good. Nick Leverett came in, the left guard, and has looked really good the last couple of games. It's now a settled lineup, and I think it's just going to help. They were opening holes for Rachaad White to burst through. So I think going forward, I think they're going to use the ground attack just as much as they have been, because they've been using it a lot. We've just been getting nowhere. But I think now finally we're going to get somewhere. And he's certainly going to at least eat into Fournette's workload going forward. He's clearly not just going to disappear. They've got him signed until the end of next season, so he's gonna hang around the team. But yeah, Rachaad White's got that 3 down skill set. So if Fournette does miss time, or they just don't fancy him anymore, then I've got no qualms with White coming in and looking every bit as good as what Fournette can do. And yeah, that stiff arm was pretty nasty. It was it's been replayed quite a few times on my phone. But just the sad thing for me, I don't think I've got any Rachaad White in Dynasty, which is an absolute tragedy. I might have him in one place, but that is it. So I need to get some more of him before he pops off again. But yeah, that's enough for me. I want to get where you're at with Rachaad White in Dynasty, Kev. So here's the Dynasty trades. Start off with Rachaad White or the injured J.K. Dobbins.
Yeah, I think with this mindset, this question, you've got to be thinking to next season, just because me personally, I don't know if you could tell with how I was finishing my analysis on him, but I don't think Rachaad White's going to take the backfield this season. I think next season there's more of a chance, potentially. And with Dobbins, with him being on IR, you can't really expect him to contribute and be a high-end performer this year. So thinking to next year, you'd probably have to lean Rachaad White, just with the age. And I mean, it's going to sound like I'm bashing the Ravens here, but what has Dobbins really done? He's been touchdown dependent, and he doesn't give you a lot as a receiver. So it's one of them. It's a chance to re-roll potentially and get a younger running back on at the moment, still a good offense with Tom Brady. So yeah, I'll just lean age on this one and potentially reset. And it is a bit of a mystery box, but it's a mystery box that could be a lot better than Dobbins. It could also blow up in your face, but it's a risk you're willing to take at the price.
Yep, I think that's fair. I think there's question marks on both of them too going forward. Trade scenario 2 is Rachaad White or a mid-23 second and a mid-23 third.
Interesting this, because we do love that 23 class. I'll take the picks just because how good the class is. It's probably 1.5 darts to try and hit a RACHAAD White, and yeah, I'll take the picks. 2 shots better than 1.
Like it. All right, we'll go with trade scenario 3 then. So RACHAAD White and a late 23 first, or DeAndre Swift.
Oh, it's been frustrating at the moment. Swift, is it? A lot of people are moaning and groaning about how he's not getting the opportunities and he's always injured, etc. But he's a truly special running back. We've seen glimpses of it. I think he can potentially be an Alvin Kamara type, an Aaron Jones type, where he's not getting 20 touches, 25 touches, and he's doing it. So again, really tough. But I think on this one, I'm going to lean the pick side with RACHAAD White as well. I don't think RACHAAD White can be DeAndre Swift, but I think the late first, it's giving you a really good running back, potentially a QB or a high-end wide receiver. So I'll take that side.
Yeah, fair enough. Like it.
Woohoo! We agreed. Nice one. So this is the next guy we're going to discuss. I think we'll agree on this guy as well. Depends what sort of things you're saying about him, but who's the next guy to stand out for your DFS hero?
Yeah, it is. We're going to talk about another running back that's it's been not spoken about until he's got his move to Miami. It is, my name is Jeff. It's Jeff Wilson. And like 22 Jump Street, Wilson also saw 22 opportunities on Sunday and was the RB7 on the week. So he's had a couple of productive weeks now. He's really integrated himself in that Miami offense, that explosive Miami offense. We know that is putting up plenty of points. They've got the MVP and Tua on their team. So what more is there to like about the RB1, the clear RB1 on that team? 17 carries, 119 yards, and a touchdown on the ground. Plus, you saw 5 targets as well, which is great. It's looking like a complete running back one, up to 61% snap percentage as well. So that's fantastic. Since Wilson has been in Miami, obviously Raheem Mostert's been the guy, but his snap percentage went from 47 the first week that he's there, dipped down to 28% this week. So they're obviously trying to phase him out and bring Jeff Wilson as the lead back. And I can't blame him, to be honest. 22 opportunities to save for Wilson and just 12 for Mostert. And to be honest, Mostert made the most of his opportunities, but the clear plan is for Jeff Wilson to be the lead back on that team. And he looks explosive himself. The team are having plenty of scoring opportunities. So he's really someone that is going to be important down the stretch in fantasy for this season, certainly. Obviously, the links to the head coach, Mike McDaniels, back at the San Francisco 49ers. He clearly really wanted Jeff Wilson. He traded a 5th round pick for Wilson. All right, 5th round is a late dart throw, but the fact that he was pretty much buried on that 49ers depth chart and he's purely selected him. And we know when Jeff Wilson's come in into that 49ers team and been the guy where there's been injuries, he's been productive the whole time. I've always liked rostering Wilson because there's always been injuries on that team. And when he's come in, he's never really disappointed. So I really like Jeff Wilson. They clearly like him so much that they ended up trading away Chase Edmonds as well in the trade for Bradley Chubb. Chase Edmonds, unfortunately, I still think he's a decent running back, but he wasn't used in the correct way in Miami. They didn't see it in him, so they've got rid of him. And for me now, Jeff Wilson is at least a top 24 running back the rest of this season, and possibly even higher. The fact this team is scoring against whatever defense they come up against, he's going to have plenty of opportunities, especially if he's up at the 60-odd% snap percentage. He's getting pretty much all the work. So yeah, you've just got to think, right, going forward, he's 26 years old. He's actually 27 tomorrow. So happy birthday, Mr. Wilson. And for me, it pretty much comes down to what sort of scenario my team is in. I think if I'm a contender, I'm really looking to buy him right now, because for me, it's someone, if he's on a team that's not contending, I don't think they're going to be asking the world for Jeff Wilson, a guy that they've not been playing. Nobody's been excited about Jeff Wilson until the last couple of weeks. So you can probably offer a 2nd rounder or less to get Jeff Wilson right now, which to me, if I'm a contender and I think my second round pick is going to be a late pick, I'm happy to pay it, because I really think that Jeff Wilson could be someone that you can plug in and play every single week and really help you win a championship, especially with the injuries that have been going on. Ideally, I'd like to offer a 24 second, but even if it's this year, I'm happy to deal a late 23 second to get Wilson, just to put me over the edge. So yeah, I'm pretty excited about Wilson going forward. Obviously, it could look completely different next season, but I'll take that shot if I'm contending to try and go all in and win now.
Yeah, Jeff Wilson's guy I really like this week. He's someone that I went after in DFS, played him in a lot of places, which was really, really nice for me. It was really, I thought it was really important how he went to Miami and he did a lot more of his opportunities in his first game than Raheem Mostert. So I felt that it was looking like it was going to be a Jeff Wilson backfield, and it's proven so far to be correct. Funny story about Jeff Wilson, I was playing him in a league versus an opponent, and he was doing that well that sort of 9 o'clock our time on Sunday, sort of after 1 p.m. games in the US. I got a trade offer from my opponent who was facing Jeff Wilson to try and get Jeff Wilson, offering me a second and a fourth. So I just said, we'll calm it down a little bit and we'll catch up this week. I don't want to smash accept and then take the points off my team or whatever. I don't even know if that happens, but I didn't want to risk losing the matchup as we was facing each other. But yeah, just going back to Wilson, I was trying to sell him about 2 or 3 weeks ago on a rebuilding side, when I think he had a week when he was the main man for he had a couple of weeks of the 49ers before the McCaffrey trade, and nobody would give a third for him. Like, I'm begging people to take him off my hands and saying he's a great player. I really like him, but he's just not for this type of build. So yeah, his value is going to skyrocket. Top 24 rest of the season. I'm not going to say that's crazy at all. I think it's well within his range of outcomes. Like you mentioned, that offense, if he is the lead guy, which we think he is, on that offense, it's going to be mega. Yes, he does have a bye this week, so actually it might be a good time to buy him if you've got a piece on your roster that's maybe playing this week, and you can sort of pivot and say, look, you need a running back. You've been playing Jeff Wilson. I don't know, AJ Dillon, someone like that. Would you be able to move from him and get a little bit Jeff Wilson a little bit, potentially? Maybe not. Maybe it's my views on AJ Dillon are a bit different from the consensus. But yeah, I think great offense. He's proven it. He's taken over a backfield really quick. Someone I really like. Someone I roster a lot of. Yeah, we just love him, don't we, actually? We don't really speak about him, but we do love him. So we're going to see how much we love him, actually, because we've got some trades now. We've got Jeff Wilson and a late 23 second or Tony Pollard.
Yeah, that is interesting, because I really like Tony Pollard, what he's shown the last few weeks, but I'll take the Jeff Wilson side. I think there's a lot of uncertainty on Pollard for next season, as there is with Wilson, but I'll take Wilson, the lead. I know he's going to be the lead guy on this team that's incredibly explosive, and the fact you're going to get a late 23 second, which if you pick right could be a really decent player, or you can use that in whatever way you want. I'll take that Wilson in the pick side, but there's not too much in it. Yeah,
it's really close to me. I think I'm the same. I'll lean the Wilson the pick side, just because next year will Pollard have a full backfield? No. Will Jeff Wilson? Probably not, but potentially I see it more like Wilson's a lead guy than Pollard in Dallas if he stays there. But then you've got to think the draft class as well as mega. It's going to be hard to see Pollard being the main man somewhere. Right, so trade number 2, we've got Jeff Wilson or Jamal Williams.
Oh man, these are two guys I absolutely love right now. I've been all over Jamal Williams in my redraft teams, in my charity teams, in my dynasty teams that are contending. It's been an absolute revelation. 10 touchdowns so far this season. Absolutely love the guy. He's a great guy as well. The fact that he catches passes, he's a great runner. I just like the Lions as well, and he just epitomizes what they're all about. But I will take Jeff Wilson right now. Jamal Williams, fantastic as he's done most of his damage while DeAndre Swift has been injured. He's looking like he's pretty much back to full health. He looked great running the ball on Sunday. I think they're slowly working him back in, and which is smart. I'll take Jeff Wilson because I think they're similar age. But I'll just take Wilson, the lead guy on a really explosive team.
Yep, I'll lean Jeff as well. And then the final one is Jeff Wilson or a guy you mentioned, Chase Edmonds, and a mid-23 third.
Yeah, I'm going to stick with my name is Jeff, just because I really like Chase Edmonds, but the situation he's gone to is just horrendous in Denver. The fact that there's that freeway timeshare at the minute with two decent running backs themselves. I mean, the offense as a whole is just not doing really well. So the mid-23 third is interesting. I think there's still going to be some good value come the third round of the rookie drafts. But I'll just take Jeff Wilson in what I know now. And then again, if he's got a good role on that Miami team next season as well, I think that you've hit a home run.
Yeah, Matt will tell you that he's not giving up on Chase Edmonds. I think he was touting him this week to maybe steal that backfield. Maybe next season, if Gordon goes and Murray goes, they're both older guys. Could Chase Edmonds be sort of the split guy with Javonte? Matt will say definitely yes. But yeah, I'm leaning Jeff Wilson, and we are the best two of Fantasy Wildcard Dynasty. So we move on to the next guy. An interesting guy. I didn't think we'd be thinking about him just yet, but he absolutely lit it up on Sunday. We've got Christian Watson, wide receiver 3 on the week. Only wide receiver 65 on the season, which isn't impressive at all. But this week was 4 receptions, 107 yards, and 3 touchdowns. So a 32.7 point performance, which Joshua Aki said that this reminds him of when Chase Claypool had the 4 touchdown game as a rookie, and then pretty much hasn't lived up to any expectations since then. The flip side is another smart guy, Dwayne McFarland, who focused on redraft, but I thought this was interesting anyway. He was speaking about Watson, that he's got a QB in Aaron Rodgers. He's got a weak depth chart, so there's plenty of opportunity for him to succeed. He's had an injury, so factor that in, and also that rookies do improve as the year goes on. So there's that quite a bit that's going in Watson's favour. The fact that he was a fascinating prospect, really athletic guy at top end RAS score, which is the relative athletic scoring system as well. We knew coming out that it was raw. He came from North Dakota State, but the reason that we liked him was all the physical tools, that he's a rusher, he's a receiver, he's got that high ceiling. Bit of a low floor, yes, but the Packers, they traded up to get him. They wanted to take him earlier at the end of the first, but they ended up take him at the early part of the second. So I think the opportunity is there on the Packers. He's got that rookie deal with them tied to Aaron Rodgers, but will Aaron Rodgers be there long term? Is the question. Will he hang it up after this season? I can't see him hanging it up personally, but will he be in Green Bay? Maybe not. Watson, he has seen his value rise crazily. Before the weekend, he was wide receiver 55. He's now to wide receiver 35. So he's jumped 20 ranks based on one game. Go have a look at his graph on Keep Trade Cut. You'll have a bit of a laugh at that, how it's just gone straight up. I think the value of him is now around sort of a mid 23 second. It was late previously. You've got to think, if you took him as a rookie in your rookie drafts, it was on the 1-2 turn. What do you do now? Do you cash out for a bit of a loss and roll again? Do you believe in him? Is it your chance to sort of sell off him? My view is that he's a boom bust prospect. He's someone that's probably going to take time to really succeed. I think if you're getting a mid-second, I'd be tempted to re-roll again, which it does hurt because I have took him in the Hatchet Man League with my late first. It's a brand new league, by the way. I'm not saying that out. It's a late first because I did well. It was a startup, but but yeah, it is tricky if you took him at the late first to sell him for a mid second. It can feel like a loss, but you are trading into a quality class as well. So yeah, I'd lean moving off him at the right deal.
I would absolutely snap the person's hand off if they offer me a mid 23 second for for Watson. I'm really happy to be wrong about Watson if he does turn into something, if he's the next Devontae Adams, which he's not. But yeah, I mean, just looking at the season, before the start of the season, people were getting really excited. Well, when they took him in the draft, should I say, they got really excited about Watson. He was the guy that the Packers finally took a wide receiver in the draft. They finally drafted one fairly early on. As you mentioned, what to take him in round 1. And people got really excited about him. Good draft capital. But yeah, obviously started the season injured, so that's obviously worked against him. At the same time, Romeo Doubs has come in and he's looked pretty much, for me, identical to Watson. He's been flash in the pan. He looks great one week. He looks shocking another week. I don't really know where I am on both of those two wide receivers. In fact, I pretty much have them, I think, ranked really close together. So I'm not very high on Watson, should I say. But yeah, looking at the game at the weekend, he started off, he was just dropping balls left, right, and centre, and I thought, oh God, here we go again. Rodgers is just going to take him out of the equation and not target him. But then they hit the long touchdown bomb, and then they just hit another one. And it was like unbelievable. It was like watching Devontae Adams or someone streak down the sideline, beat the defender, and actually hauled it in. It was pretty impressive, to be honest. Yeah, so his value's gone up, and I'm happy if I have him to move off him, to go with that rise in value that he's seen, that massive leap of 20 places. But personally, I still don't see it myself, so I'm happy to be wrong. I think it just happened to be that Rodgers had little choice but to keep peppering him with targets and just keep trying. I think that's the fact that he had a beat of his man at the weekend, and he hauled a couple in, and I can't see it happening again, to be honest. So yeah, there's a chance that he could hit, and I could be totally wrong, but I'm happy to sell right now on that massive performance. So that's me. Kev, over to you with trade scenario 1. We've got Christian Watson or a guy that you mentioned in the segment, Chase Claypool.
Interesting how we've done that back to back. We didn't plan this show at all, honestly. I'm taking Watson on that one just because I think there is more of an unknown. Claypool flashed it a little bit. He's gone to a situation that's getting better a little bit with Fields, but yeah, I'll take Watson just with the draft capital. The front office was high on him. The fact he's got Rodgers and that he's younger, and he's in a situation that I prefer to Claypool.
Yeah, I've never been a Claypool guy. Glad to see him out of Pittsburgh. I'll take the Watson just for that possible upside that he's got. I don't quite see it with Claypool. So trade scenario 2, Christian Watson or a mid 23 second.
Yeah, as a great man once said, I'd snap your hand off. So yeah, I'll take that mid 23 second. And even though you have given up as such, if you've took him as your late first, you've lost value, but you're actually going into a better class. So yeah, if you're in the Hatchetman League and you want to send us a mid second, just you know where I am.
Indeed. We'll move on to trade scenario 3. It's Christian Watson and a mid 23 first or DJ Moore.
I'm not a massive DJ Moore fan. I think he's had lots of underlying metrics that stand out as great, but if we're just talking pure fantasy, he's 25, 26 years old almost, and he's not done it yet. And is there any sign of them sorting the QB position? We know wide receivers can be good with poor QBs, but he's just not got the ceiling. I'd probably do a mid 23 first. I'd move off DJ Moore on his own from mid 23 first. So I'll take the Watson side, getting him as an add-in as well for that.
Yeah, I think I must have got you and Matt mixed up. I knew one of you like DJ Moore and got the wrong one. I'll take the pick side as well.
Good lad. I think this is one that we've all been on agreement on in the past. But he had a cracking week. Who was the last guy that stood out to you, Ali?
He did. We famously named a show after him, CEEDEE Lamborghini. It's CEEDEE Lamb. And everybody is talking about Justin Jefferson this week, quite rightly, with the amazing game that he showed, the incredible catch, which could be the best catch of all time. There's certainly a debate on that one. But yeah, it's actually the wide receiver 1 on the week that beat Justin Jefferson. It's CeeDee Lamb. And he's wide receiver 8 on the season as well, which to me, that feels a little bit under the radar. There's still, I know I've got him in a couple of leagues, and although I play him every single week, I never feel like he's going to go off every single week. He seems to have apart from this week, I always thought of him as a ceiling of about 20 points. He just does enough to not look amazing. But he also was the reason for a couple of bad picks at the weekend where he wasn't running the right route, and Dak Prescott was clearly frustrated with him. But yeah, a lot of people are saying he's not taking that next step. He had the opportunity there to absolutely smash and get himself up to, one of the top dynasty wide receivers. But a lot of people are saying he's not quite taken that next step, but certainly took a giant leap this week against a really good Packers defense as well. They're 8th best in passing DVOA, their defense. So it's not like he'd done this against the Detroit Lions or someone like that. Done it against a really good Packers team. And yeah, 15 targets, which was really good. The second most in week 10. I think Jefferson and Diggs, who both went into overtime in that amazing game, they had 16. But yeah, 15 targets, 11 receptions, 150 yards. So both the first time he's been over that mark, and the first time he went over 100 yards this season, and yeah, 2 touchdowns. So it was a really good game for CeeDee. It's been fantastic, the chemistry between him and Dak since Dak got back from injury. And yeah, he seems to be the offense at the minute. It seems to be him, Pollard, Zeke Elliott plodding his way through. But yeah, Michael Gallup, he's been really disappointing to me since he's come back from his own injury. I really thought that Michael Gallup was a buy for someone in the second half of the season, would come back and fulfill what he used to be as that wide receiver 2 on that team. But it's looking like Dalton Schultz has come back and regained that second target in this offense. He's had 2 or 3 games back to back where he's looked impressive. So yeah, the question really for CeeDee Lamb in Dynasty is, can he now start putting these performances back to back and start getting closer to Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase, where I know I personally had him wide receiver 3 preseason, just because the opportunity that he had with Amari Cooper out of town, plus the fact that he's still really young. But at the minute, he's wide receiver 9. And there's certainly room for him to improve on that and go up. I think if he starts putting these performances back to back, I'm going to move him ahead of the likes of Higgins. I absolutely love Higgins, but if CeeDee Lamb is the guy in Dallas and he's putting these performances back to back, I'll put him ahead of him. You've got Cooper Kupp and Stephon Diggs that are older guys that he could rise above them as well. So yeah, that's where I'm at with CeeDee. It's just the question marks on what he's going to do the next few games as to where he finishes in my sort of overall season ranks. So yeah, I'm really interested to see where you're at with CeeDee Lamb.
Yeah, similar thought process for me, that it was my wide receiver 3 in the off season, and I think it's a tough spot to be because someone has to be in that spot below the top 2 elite guys, and you don't want to really be in that spot because there's guys that are like wide receiver 10, 11 that are a similar value, so it's kind of unfair. I think based on his first couple of years where he was wide receiver 33 and wide receiver 18 in fantasy points per game, he was kind of hoping for him to take a step because he'd not really done it touchdown wise. He got like 5 and 6. He'd not done it commanding a huge amount of targets with Cooper there. He was nowhere near sort of the dominant sort of guy that you want in a alpha, we'll say. So he had a lot of question marks for me, but then when he lost Dak early on this season, it was kind of like, oh god, here we go again. We have to drop him, and that's exactly what the market did. They dropped him pretty low, but I'm really encouraged by CeeDee, and I'm backing on him, to be honest. Target share is 2nd in the NFL. Target rate 3rd. Air yard share 6 overall. So these are really encouraging signs for him to be considered an alpha, and he's showing signs that he can make that jump to be in that top tier potentially if he continues to grow with Jefferson and Chase. So I can't believe I'm bigging up a Cowboys guy and someone that I think we'd all faded a little bit, but I think I'm probably going to be the highest on us 3 now on CeeDee Lamb. I think I had him a similar spot to you when we did our rankings a couple of weeks back, but just the past 2 weeks or the past 2 games, have really swung me back, and he's got to be top 5, top 6 for me again now. Just because I think Schultz, he's got question marks. Will he stay there? Gallup, like you said, he's got a massive deal and he's not performing. So there's not a lot of wiggle room for him to continue adding at that spot, especially Zeke's contract. Talbot has spent a day to draft pick on, so he's kind of going to be forced. It's going to be one of those scenarios where he's going to end up leading them in targets, and he's going to be very high up in the targets versus the rest of the league. So on volume purely, got to get excited for CeeDee. So we'll see how excited we are on him, actually. Trade number 1, we've got CeeDee Lamb and a late 23 second or AJ Brown.
Yeah, I'll take the CeeDee side on this one, just because I think, like a lot of people, these two are in the same tier as me in Dynasty. So the fact that you're getting a few years in age and you're getting that 23 second, even if it's the final pick in the 2nd round, I'm quite happy at evaluating the guys that's going to be in the 2nd round this year. I think there's going to be some decent prospects. So I'll just take that side with the age, and it's a move that you could realistically make a sideways move and then gain a pick. I love doing that in Dynasty. So yeah, I'll take that side.
Yeah, agreed. I've got AJ Brown above, but if I could get a little bit on top of CeeDee, I'm more than happy to take that side. Trade number 2. This is one we've done a lot over the years. CeeDee Lamb or T Higgins.
Yeah, this is tough because these two are probably so close in value in my rankings. So I've got T Higgins maybe 1 spot or 2 higher. So I'd have to go for T Higgins right now, but give it another couple of weeks, and it's all it's going to take. It's a couple of weeks with 80 yards, 100 yards, well, perhaps 2 decent games for CeeDee Lamb, and they flip. But again, they're in the same tier. But I've got to take T Higgins. But yeah, that's really close.
Yeah, he's not here, isn't Matt? So I can give him some grief because I know he's a massive T Higgins fan, and I'm a big T Higgins fan as well. But I've flipped. It's CeeDee Lamb for me. I think T Higgins without Jamar Chase is going to be an interesting one to see if he can be the man, or if it's the fact that he's getting the easier looks versus the number 2 cornerback and not getting shadowed and bracketed, etc. So yeah, I'm on board with CeeDee Lamb, and I'm sure Rich Cullen will be loving that. But the 3rd trade is CeeDee Lamb and a late 23 second, or Christian Kirk and a late 23 first.
Well, again, Matt's guy is in this trade, Christian Kirk. But I'm not taking that side. I think Christian Kirk had the massive game this week, looked really good against the Chiefs. But for Dynasty wise, I think there's question marks on Christian Kirk, whether he can carry on being that wide receiver 1 on that team, or whether they're going to add an alpha or someone down the line in free agency or whatever. So I'll take the CeeDee Lamb side because, yeah, Ridley coming back, exactly. So I'll take the CeeDee side, and I'll drop around from the 1st to the 2nd.
Yeah, I'm the same. Give me CeeDee on that one. Giving up a 23 first there. What has the world come to? So we've got a little bit of time left, and I'm going to speak about a little guy. A little bit of time for a little guy. Rondale Moore, wide receiver 16 on the week. Wide receiver 44 overall in the season, which doesn't sound amazing, but actually wide receiver 32 in fantasy points per game. The reason it stood out for me this week, it's just more of a build-up of sort of the volume and the situation that changed a little bit this weekend. But think looking back, disappointing as a rookie, he was wide receiver 67 overall. He flashed a couple of games, a couple of catches, but nothing major. Looked like a bust, and then he missed the first 3. This year, Greg Dortch was absolute waiver wire gold, and everybody loved Greg Dortch. But then, looking at Rondale Moore over the past 6 weeks, he's been the wide receiver 12, a wide receiver 1 in Dynasty, which is pretty hilarious. So it might not be the true reflection though, because you got to think Hopkins was missing, then Marquise Brown was missing, and now he might come back, and Zach Ertz is missing. So we've not actually seen a proper true reflection with this offense with all the weapons. And that's the big question. Will he maintain a role in this offense in 2023 when everybody's back? Who knows? He's a former second-round pick, so the coaching staff, the GM are obviously keen. I guess the other thing is 56 targets in 7 games. It's 8 a game. It's really, really solid, that. Wide receiver 13 in snap share and route percentage as well. So he's getting plenty of favourable looks from the slot, as you'd expect, but this is a low A dot, 5.3 yards, which is 98 in wide receivers. So he's getting the looks, he's getting the targets, he's getting the receptions, but the closer line of scrimmage, so you need in volume to really, really stand out. Like I said, the main question is, what is 2023 looking like in Arizona? Will the coach be there? Will the GM be there? He's currently keep trade cut wide receiver 40. Now, in my eyes, if I was to think about Rondale, what is he? What does he do? I'd say he's a volume winner. He's a low ceiling in the bigger picture, despite him being a wide receiver 1 over the past, however, 6 weeks was it? I think that's more to do with the situation than the talent. So I think that, combined with the uncertainty towards what the offense will look like, who's going to be there, will Trey McBride take a step like people expect as well? So I'm probably going to upset Matt again. I've upset him a lot on this show, actually, so it'll be hilarious to hear him listening back to this. But yeah, I'm happy to pivot off Rondale Moore at value just based on uncertainties and the fact that it's a bit of a mirage, that he's a volume-driven guy in an offense that could change a lot.
Yeah, it's quite interesting. I looked today at a bit of research, do it time to time. Ooh. And looking at when they were coming out, the argument was Rondale Moore versus Elijah Moore. Who's the best Moore? And I want to see points per game, what the difference was. And actually, over the course of the 2 seasons, they've almost flipped, where Rondale was non-existent last year. Elijah Moore had the big games last year, looked good for it in spades. This season, Elijah Moore's gone missing, and Rondale Moore's taken the next step. And there's actually only 0.2 points per game difference in it, where Rondale's now leading. Thought that was really interesting.
Yeah.
I loved Rondale Moore for a DFS play this week. Just looked at his game with Colt McCoy last season, so week 11. Colt McCoy came in at quarterback, and Rondale Moore only was in for 39% of the snaps, but had 11 targets in those 39% of snaps. So whenever Rondale was on the field, Colt McCoy just went to him. So Colt McCoy absolutely loves Rondale Moore. I quite like Rondale Moore, but it's certainly in terms of the snap percentage, he's been ever present on the field. 93% snap percentage of this season he averages, and he had plenty of targets again this week. He's on great pace at the minute, and like you said, Kev, I think a lot of it for me has come down for the situation now with Zach Ertz now gone. So there's plenty of opportunities for him in the slot, in his natural role. He's going to see so many targets. And then obviously Marquise Brown as well. So yeah, if you've got him and you contend him for the season, Rondale Moore's someone that you can play really confidently this season. But yeah, I would, and I don't even think you have to do it right now. I think there's still room for his value to grow for the next 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks, where I think he's going to carry on seeing loads of targets, and his fantasy performance is going to carry on really well. So his value, I think, is going to rise even more with people not really thinking about next season. I think next year is going to look completely different, and I think people are going to be expecting the same sort of production out of him, and I think it's just not going to happen with with what he's got coming back, this Arizona offense. So with that, I would be trading him away in the next few weeks if I got a decent trade offer. But what that offer might be, we'll find out. Kev, trade scenario 1 is Rondale Moore or the new Chiefs star, Kadarius Toney.
Yeah, I think it's a good trade because both of these guys are sort of in the spotlight, and especially this week with the Toney catch he had. I would take Kadarius Toney just based on that. I think he's slightly above him in keep trade cut already, and he's what, had 1.5 games with the Chiefs. Imagine if Kadarius Toney had 6 weeks where he was wide receiver 12 overall. People would be absolutely losing the minds over a wide receiver on the Chiefs that's doing that. So, I'll take Toney just based on name value, that if he did anything similar to Rondale Moore, he'd probably be like wide receiver 10 overall.
Yeah, no, it would. It is quite miraculous how Kadarius Toney is fully healthy all of a sudden, and he's producing for Kansas City. Okay, trade scenario 2 is Rondale Moore or a late 23-second.
Again, I think that's a good shout. We had sort of Christian Watson, a similar sort of range, late and mid-second. I think I'll probably just lean Rondale on this one. I don't feel great about it. I think it is a genuine coin flip, but I'll probably hold more now and maybe play a bit of a waiting game, a bit of a risky game, and look to cash out even in 3 or 4 more weeks' time.
That's exactly what I was going to say. I think you could possibly wait it out and get a mid or even an early second if he does really keep this pace up the next 2 or 3 weeks. I think, play the waiting game. Watch him now get injured next week. Rondale Moore, the final trade scenario of the night. Rondale Moore and a late 23 first, or the sun god, Amon-Ra St. Brown.
God, this is hard because I think when you're talking about wide receivers like Amon-Ra St. Brown, he's obviously in a different league to Rondale Moore, and I think it kind of makes Rondale Moore just a throw-in. So it's like, would you sell or would you buy Amon-Ra St. Brown for a late 23 first? And I'm leaning Amon-Ra side on this one. I think he's in both of our top 10, top 11, I think. Hawkinson's gone. James Williams, we don't know what he is. Is he going to be a top 10 Dynasty wide receiver? I can confirm not. So give me the Amon-Ra side. Really exciting franchise I've got going there, and he's done amazingly well.
He has, indeed. I'll pick Amon-Ra St. Brown. Really impressive what he's done this season, and I think he's got a really solid future going forward as a wide receiver 1 in Dynasty. I didn't think I'd be saying that a year ago. So that's where we are.
That's exactly where we are, and that's where it ends. We're going to end the show where we've reviewed week 10 of the NFL season from a Dynasty point of view. Thank you for tuning in. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at Fantasy Wildcard. Subscribe to us on YouTube by searching Fantasy Wildcard Podcast Network Plus. Leave us a 5-star podcast review if you enjoyed the banner we've brought you tonight, as well as the superb game theory, hot takes, great trade advice, and overall entertainment. So join us every Tuesday for the podcast, every Wednesday for the stream of this show. Thank you once again. Have a good one, and we'll see you again soon.